John Zedell. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. We will be reviewing and recapping WWE Smackdown every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. West Coast time. So we will be here after Smackdown every Friday night.
And we're here now. We're enjoying it. We just saw an interesting go home show for a pay-per-view tomorrow. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, don't bury the lead. What's the big thing that we're talking about, John? What was your take there on the main event, the big thing that happened here?
Absolutely do not bury the lead. Don't bury the lead, because ultimately we had a great main event. Pretty shocking, because this is our second SmackDown, and they had pretty much something where it wasn't a big schmaz necessarily. Like, they had like a build up to the match. They gave us a match. The match was good. So we had Sheamus versus Gunther for the Intercontinental title. I like that they're highlighting the Intercontinental title in the main event. And there's a couple things specifically that I liked about the main event.
Sure, go for it.
They actually set it up from last week's show coming into this week's show.
Continuity. So this wasn't just thrown together. It's just, apparently this is a long-standing feud. I got that too.
I like the vocab word, continuity, which is right. Continuity within this show. It was for a belt, so there was some sort of stake on the line, and they show the belt. They give the real intro, where they're from, and the big cheers for that. So you're like, okay, cool. We actually have a 20-minute main event. Those are high-level things I liked right away. Dom, anything you wanted to add about this specific main event?
Going into it, you had to wonder, and we did. All right, is this going to be a real match? Like, are they going to let them go 20 minutes and have a real match and settle it in the ring? Because they had a lot of other things to do here. They're still trying to tease the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
That there's going to be a Donnybrook match apparently between these two factions. And they managed to set up the Donnybrook and have a pretty decent match in the ring. I like how it ended. I like, they did for a while the standard guy kicks out of other guy's finisher. Okay, so then the other guy kicks out of the other guy's finisher. So they're doing that. HD TV shows you the abrasions opening up there on Sheamus's chest. So they were taking some shots there.
Yeah.
And I think you had even said that you noticed maybe Gunther took a shot to the mouth there and was maybe bleeding a little from his mouth.
Yeah.
So these guys,
this one was pretty violent.
They were working stiff.
I'll have to say, these guys were really stiffing each other a lot. And there was some, it's great. Hard way blood is good, rather than a blade job. And then all the marks on Sheamus's chest. Ultimately, coming home here, there's interference, and Gunther whacks Sheamus with some sort of foreign object. I don't know what it is.
Shillelagh, that's the Irish thing. So he kind of used Sheamus's weapon. So Sheamus's weapon wound up doing him in.
Okay.
So there's a neat little twist. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the shillelagh that Sheamus usually brings to the ring there. So that was interesting, and that's the kind of foreign object thing. And maybe this leads us into the whole Extreme Rules thing, but I don't know what a Donnybrook match is going to be like. I'm not familiar with that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know what a Donnybrook is, but I don't know what the WWE calls a Donnybrook match. So I don't know what kind of weapons or other stipulations are involved in that match. But this kind of gave us a taste of, there were 6 guys going at it. There were 3 fights here. One in the ring, 2 on the outside, little bit of distraction for the referee. And then a foreign object kind of used there at the end. I think it does a good job of not only building the fact that there's going to be a six-way faction match tomorrow at the pay-per-view, while also having something settled in the ring.
Yes.
And in the ring though, let's talk about how did we like how Sheamus almost won the match and then got confused, thinking that he did.
Yeah, I've never seen that. So where he thinks the guy tapped and then the guy is reaching, there's some cloverleaf hold. Sheamus puts Gunther in. Gunther is kind of going toward the rope and he does 2 taps on the ground. It seems like he taps. So super false finish. And then the ref's like, no, he didn't tap. So I've never seen it. So it's very interesting. But
have you seen you have seen a variation though? Like there's always a thing where the guy thinks the ref counted 3.
Always.
And it turns out he didn't.
The 3. I've never, and always something where like they get the finger. They kind of overuse this before, but they'll put like the finger on the rope. But this one I've never seen before, and it worked, and everybody's then yelling at the ref. So good on the ref. It's always tough. Gotta be really tough being any sort of referee, let alone a pro wrestling referee. You're just getting yelled at for the duration of the show. That's why they've got to switch these guys in and out because they're like, oh man, getting killed out there, So
well, this was an interesting twist. Like you're saying, I don't think I've seen the one where the guy taps the canvas twice. They're trying to make it look like he's reaching for the ropes and he's just missing and hitting the canvas.
Yeah.
Now to us with the close-up camera, it looks like boom, boom, 2 taps on the canvas, like he wasn't even trying for the rope.
Yeah,
I wonder how it looked to the live crowd.
Or I thought it was a botch. One of the two. Like I don't know why.
It could have been a botch. Like I wonder how it looked to the live crowd there in the arena, because he's swinging his arm twice, but it's very rapid.
Yeah.
So
like, is it very confusing?
It's not like he went, like he reaches, hits the canvas, reaches again, hits the canvas, and then reaches and gets it. Mm-hmm. It was like boom, boom, and then wait, grabs the rope. So it was confusing.
Right. It could have been legitimately confusing if you're there live. That's a great point.
And I don't know what the rule. It was confusing on TV.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm thinking in my head he's got to tap 3 times for it to be, like it's a 3 count. It's 3 taps for you to tap out. You don't tap out on the first one. Or am I not getting the wrestling rule correct? But I thought it was, you needed 3. Gosh, should I go old school here and just dig up something that nobody's going to have any idea what I'm talking about?
Go for it.
Okay. There's a really old, back when Bob Backlund was the WWE champion, back when it was WWF. He's the WWF heavyweight champion.
Sure.
He wrestles Greg the Hammer Valentine in Madison Square Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And Valentine's going for a pin. And Backlund, as the ref is counting, Backlund smacks Valentine twice on his back. Valentine thinks it's the ref telling him that he won. Breaks the pin on the 2 count, stands up with his arm raised. Backlund winds up winning the match on that swerve. But like it was planned that way. So I don't know, was Gunther trying to fool Sheamus, knowing that a tap out is 3, so he smacks twice. Sheamus eases up on the hold. Gunther gets whatever he needs to reach for the rope. I'm throwing that out there. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, no. Seems like it was worked in, and at first I thought it was kind of a botch, but then because it was so storyline intense, I believe that it wasn't a botch. But ultimately,
I'll tell you what the botch was. The botch was that they took way too long to sequence out of that. I mean, Sheamus is just sitting there along the ropes for what seems like half an hour. I mean, in real time, it was probably 20 seconds, but in wrestling time, 20 seconds is half an hour.
Yeah.
What's he doing just sitting there across the bottom rope? The ref has told him, I don't know how many times, no, he didn't tap. He was reaching for the rope. The match is still going.
Yeah, that's a great point.
What is Sheamus doing just sitting there going against the bottom rope? Is he, at that point, is he waiting for were the guys in the back a little slow getting down to the ring to turn that into a Donnybrook? I mean, was the timing off? That part of the match looked weird to me. Everything I was willing to accept up to that point, including, the way that false finish went.
Yeah, a
But
little wonky there at the end, but maybe
bad
it
timing.
always
He didn't
feels
have
like
the timing.
whenever they do the run-ins that they're a little off, right? It's like, when are we going? When are we going? Like whenever we would
Yeah.
do it, the run-ins are always tough to coordinate because stuff's happening on the fly out there, and they're sort of improving, but they're getting to that one point, and there
Sure.
is like a signal for them to go. But then it's
Yep.
like, wait, you don't want to go too early, you don't want to go too late, like,
No.
but and it seems like, what was it? One team ran out, and then the other team runs out. But did they both come from the back?
Gunther's
Team definitely came from the back.
faction comes out of the locker
Locker
room.
room.
And they come down first to just cheer him on. They're like pounding on the apron, which, I mean, they could have been out there a little sooner, and they could have done that while Sheamus was beating up on him. It was almost like Sheamus was waiting for something to happen.
Mhm.
Well, something happened. And then it looked like Sheamus's partners came out of the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which, I mean, that's kind of neat.
So that's tough to coordinate.
That's
like
neat.
the two, like if you're all hanging out in the locker room, you could be like, okay, go, and then we'll go. But then you have to coordinate these guys that come in from the crowd, the baby faces.
Yep.
That's kind of, it gets a little difficult to land on. There's some other
That worked. I was concerned because the initial run in it almost looked like the match was pausing for commercial break.
right. We were like, and
But they weren't. They've already done that. Like, this is it. This is the final
they
segment.
gave us plenty of commercial breaks. So
Right. I mean, they paid the bills like they're supposed to. I get it. Not complaining. But yeah, I get that WWE in this main event, they wanted to have a championship match and have a belt mean something. This was the only title match of the night.
mhm.
So put an IC title match on there, and that means something. B, tease the Donnybrook tomorrow at Extreme Rules. And then I guess they needed a creative way not to do the title change now.
Yeah, I thought that, like, just knowing that they had the pay-per-view tomorrow, it'd be wild. But I also thought, well, they've got like a new creative team. Triple H is out there. If you really want to do something cool, it'd be like, hey, title changes can happen on SmackDown, and then come to the pay-per-view tomorrow anyway. Hey, like something like that.
On the other hand, what better teaser for tomorrow than to have a title change in the middle of the ring and then have just a brawl?
Yeah, right.
On the other hand, that could have worked too. So I'm going to say I get what they were trying to do. I don't know that it was executed all that well. The match at times seemed to be rather slow. I mean, it was brutal. They're trying to sell that these guys are working stiff.
Mm-hmm.
The chops to the chest. Sheamus is getting bruised and sometimes bleeding. The lacerations there across the top of his chest. Gunther taking shots as well. But it almost looked like the whole match was just slowing down for it to break down.
Yeah.
And so not a great final match for me.
Mm-hmm. So I definitely noticed lots of punching, like lots of strikes. So strikes,
that's their style.
And strikes are fine, but then after a while, it is kind of slow. Although the crowd was into it, kind of old school. And one thing I thought was awesome: no Irish whips. That is just like throwing the playbook out because everybody does the Irish whip. Everybody goes the down, the up, the it's like the first thing
They use the ropes.
they use the ropes like crazy, and
Yep.
it's ridiculous. And then this one, they didn't use them at all, and I think it benefited the match, especially like two big guys like this. They don't need to be whipping each other off the ropes, doing the acrobatic moves. So I like that there was no Irish whips.
Yeah, it's a brawl. My goodness, it's like you're setting it up here. Greg the Hammer Valentine, who I've already mentioned,
he,
he used to hate running the ropes. He's like, this looks stupid.
it does. I mean,
It doesn't look. You wouldn't do this in a fight, you know.
yeah. If you're over, I mean, we were talking about it before the show, like Bret Hart with the realism, always thinking along those lines. Like, yeah, the Irish whip is a little like, why would somebody get thrown and then pop off back? But, anyways, I like the fact that there was no Irish whips. I thought it was stiff. And then, yeah, I think it was pretty solid overall. I would say that's all I really had for the main event. I think there were other things in the show that were pretty good. I feel like the opener was good, and then the main was good, and then there was a lot of fluff in the middle of the show. Whereas last week we saw a little bit more action in the middle of the show with Rousey versus Natalia. That was a good match at 9, but this had a lot of fluff.
Let's do just a brief rundown by the numbers here. I'm counting 2 actual wrestling matches in the first hour, one of which was basically a squash match.
Yeah.
That was Raquel Rodriguez and Shotzi
Mhm.